Listen to a sold-out arena today, and you can hear the raw, undeniable energy of Mexican hip-hop. What started on a few underground street corners has erupted into massive stadium tours around the world. This chart tracks the genre's growth. Across all platforms, Cartel de Santa alone has surpassed 9 billion streams, part of a massive footprint that now stretches deep into the United States. But long before those numbers existed, someone had to build the blueprint. In the late 1990s, Cartel de Santa emerged as the original architects of this movement, led by frontman Babo. Through decades of grinding, they built an industry. Mexican rap has moved past its borders. The sound that defined Monterrey now fills festivals in the US and dominates charts across Latin America. In the middle of this commercial peak, Babo released a track called Sapo. It wasn't a standard single. It was a direct indictment of the scene's most prominent figures. Literally, a sapo is a toad. In the street, it is a label for a snitch, someone who violates the code of silence that the barrio is built on. The track took direct aim at Darius, Babo's former bandmate and musical brother. It also pulled in secondary targets, trapping major players like Seacon squarely in the crosshairs. The global market values Mexican rap specifically for its realness. If the foundation of that authenticity, the brotherhood of its creators, is exposed as a lie, the entire genre's credibility is at risk. The roots of this conflict trace back to Nuevo León, the geographic birthplace of the movement. Monterrey is an industrial landscape of brutalist factories and harsh working conditions. This environment defined the worldview for the original members of Cartel de Santa. Survival here requires the si no tranzas, no avanzas mentality. It is the idea that if you don't hustle or cheat the system, you will never move forward. Babo's verses are built on lived experience. In 2007, he was charged with involuntary manslaughter after a dispute with his driver ended in a fatal shooting. He spent 9 months in prison, grounding his music in the very trauma he describes. In this scene, music is anchored in these realities. Strict adherence to barrio loyalty isn't an aesthetic choice. It is a matter of life and death. That rigid code is why the fracture between Babo and Darius is so bitter. A historical brotherhood has dissolved into years of public resentment. The release of Sapo acted as a catalyst, pouring gasoline on the fire and forcing everyone in the industry to choose a side. This diagram shows the blast radius. Cartel de Santa sits as the central node, firing hostile connections directly at Darius and Seacon. The map quickly expands. Defenders like Millonario form a protective line, while Santa Fe Clan is pulled into the red web. YouTube channels like Music Rap Hood have weaponized these rivalries. They pump out rapid-fire reaction videos, analyzing every lyric and fueling the daily drama for 1 million subscribers. Digital platforms have hyper-accelerated a traditional street beef. They have transformed personal fractures into a highly profitable, interconnected content ecosystem. Artists are fighting over the respect of a few specific city blocks, while simultaneously performing for crowds of 50,000 people. Look at Santa Fe Clan. He performs on international stages, visibly carrying the weight of national pride for millions of fans across the continent. Yet despite that scale, these artists are still fiercely fighting over street credibility. They are battling for the block while performing for the world. Researchers call this a glocal identity. Deeply specific regional barrio culture is packaged up and consumed by a global market. Global commercialization hasn't erased the gritty street culture of Mexican hip-hop. It has simply broadcast those exact neighborhood rules to the rest of the planet, which brings us back to the label Sapo. In an ecosystem where authenticity is the only reason people listen, breaking the code is professional suicide. The penalty for being branded a traitor is permanent. It strips away the foundational credibility an artist relies on to function in this scene. No matter how much money flows into the genre, and no matter how famous these artists become, the rules of engagement are still written by the streets. The Sapo schism proves that in this world, commercial success is secondary. Authenticity and unyielding loyalty remain the only things that keep an artist's career alive.